Every month you export your AR or AP aging report. Every month it comes out like this. Customer name appears once on the top, invoice rows below it, no entity name, just the amounts, then the subtotal row, then the next customer, then whole pattern repeats for 500 rows. Before you can do anything useful with this, before you can pivot by customer, sort by overdue bucket, filter by sales wrap, identify your top 10 debtors, you have to first flatten it. And if you are doing this manually, copy paste, fill down, delete subtotals, you have been burning somewhere between 30 minutes to 2 hours every single month on a problem that should not exist. This tool fixes that one with one click. The AR/AP Aging Report Flattener is the free Power Query Excel tool from FinDataPro. You drop your aging exports from any supported ERP into a folder, hit refresh, and it gives you a flat analysis ready table. One row per invoice, entity name filled down, subtotals and junk rows removed, currency and date columns typed correctly. It works with 8 ERP out of the box: QuickBooks Online, Xero, Zoho Books, MS Dynamics 365, SAP Business One, Oracle NetSuite, Sage, and TelePrime. And once you configure it, it runs forever. You never touch the setup again. Just drop new exports in the folder and refresh. Let me walk you through it, how to set it up and how to use it. First, the folder structure. This is very important. The workbook lives in a parent folder. Here in this case, AR/AP Aging Flattener, that is the parent folder. Inside that parent folder, you create subfolder called exactly source data, capital S and D and no spaces, as you can see here. Your aging reports from ERP go inside source data. The workbook stays in the parent folder. Never mix them. So if you open this folder, you have this your ERP extract for AP and AR. And if you go outside this workbook, you never put it inside this. Why does this matter? Because the tool scans source folder automatically. Every time you refresh it, it picks up whatever the files are in there. New month, new files, doesn't matter. You don't configure file names anywhere. You don't touch the workbook. Name your files to include ERP name, something like this, as you can see on the screen. Xero, Dynamics, QuickBooks. The tool reads the file name and auto-suggests which ERP it belongs to. If the ERP name is in the file name, the detection is automatic. Now let's go through the tool itself. We'll go to the tab called Parameters. It stores the path to the folder where the workbook lives. You don't fill this manually. It uses Excel cell formula that reads the workbook's own location automatically. So if you go here and I press F2, with this particular function with left and cell function, you get the exact location of the file, right? The folder itself, and you attach source data folder to it through a formula at the back end. So you don't have to do anything here. You just download the entire parent folder, unzip it, save it in your local disk. Do not save it to OneDrive linked list or Google Drive linked list. Store it locally, with which it will work flawlessly. If you move this workbook to a different folder, save it, reopen, the path updates itself. The only thing you need to do here is to make sure this sheet exists and the table is inactive. Do not touch it, do not edit the formula, it just works. Now let's go to File Discovery tab. This is one of the most useful tabs in the workbook and the most people skip it. Hit data, refresh all, and this sheet auto-populates with every file it found in your source folder. Let me walk you through the columns. The first column is name and extension. If the file is found, you will see a temp file name sorting with $. If that is the case, it ignores it. That's Excel's lock file when workbook is open. The tool filters those out automatically. Suggested ERP based on the file name keyword. If it says unknown, your file name doesn't have a recognizable ERP keyword. Rename the file to include ERP name and refresh. In the Setup tab, which the tab I will show you next, this tells you whether this ERP type has a configuration row in the setup sheet. Configured means it's ready to process. Not in the setup means you need to add a row in the setup for it. So you'll understand this when we go to the setup tab. So let's go back to file discovery. Sheet names, which is here. The exact names of all the sheets inside the file. Copy from here when you fill it in the setup tab. Don't type sheet name manually. Use this. Column headers. The exact column headers from the first data sheet. This is critical. When you are configuring setup, copy column names from here, not from the memory, not from the ERP documentation, exactly as they appear here, including the spacing and capitalization. If file inventory or a file discovery tab here shows all your files with correct suggested ERP and configured status, you're ready to look at the master output. If anything says not in setup, you need to configure in the setup tab. Now we'll go to ERP column reference tab, as you can see on the screen. Before you touch the setup tab, open this sheet. This is your reference guide. Exact column names for all 8 supported ERPs, both AR and AP, including every aging bucket from current to all the way to 720 plus days. A few things to know here. Most ERPs only go to 90 days. They have a single 90 plus column. When that's the case, see QuickBooks, Xero, Zoho, Dynamics here. You map that column to 91 to 180 days in the setup and leave the extended bucket columns blank. The master output will simply not have those extra columns, and that's fine. TelePrime is an exception. It exports more granular buckets. You will see column 181 to 365 populated here. Read the notes column. Some ERPs have quirks. Dynamic has a total semicolon with a colon in the subtotal pattern. QuickBooks Online has a spaces in the bucket headers. 1, then space dash 30 and not 1 dash 30. These exact details matter. One character off the tool throws an error. And if the column names in this reference don't match what you see on your actual file, trust your file. Use file inventory column headers as the source of truth, not this sheet, because this is just a sample. Now let's go to the setup tab. This is the only tab you actually configure, and you do it once. The table is called TBL setup aging. 1 row per ERP type, not 1 row per file. If you have 12 QuickBooks Online files in source data, you simply only have one QuickBook Online row here. Let me walk you through the columns. Source name. Just a label you are giving this source, something like QBO receivables or Xero payables. ERP system. Must match exactly. Copy from file discovery tab, suggested ERP. The join between file discovery and setup uses this column. If it doesn't match exactly, the ERP files won't process. If it doesn't match exactly, that ERP files won't process. Report type AP or AR, that is column C. Sheet name, which is column D. The exact tab name in the export file. Copy from file discovery tab. Sheet names, don't type it. Header row, set this to 0. That triggers auto detection. The tool scans the first 15 rows of each file and identifies where the actual column headers are. Manual override is there if auto detect ever fails. But for all standard ERPs exports, 0 works. Entity column, column F, and invoice reference column, that is column G. The exact header text for the customer vendor name column and the invoice number column, copy from ERP column reference or file discovery tab. Subtotal pattern, which is column H. The text that subtotal row starts with, usually total, but check your file. Dynamic uses total semicolon with a colon. Bucket columns, which are starting from column J to column P. Map each setup column to the corresponding header in your ERP export. For ERPs without extended buckets, leave column 181 to 365, column 366 to 720, and column 720 plus blank. Column total, which is the last column. The row total column. For Dynamics, this is balance and not total. Once you have filled this row, that ERP is configured permanently. Every new file from that ERP that lands in source data folder will be processed automatically on a next refresh. Now let's go to instruction. The instruction tab is your quick reference guide. What the tool does, how to set it up, step-by-step guide, troubleshooting for common errors. If you are sharing this workbook with a colleague or a client, this is the first step they should read. Pay attention to the troubleshooting section. If you get an error row in a master output, 9 times out of the 10, it's a column name mismatch between setup and actual export file. The fix is always the same. Go to File Discovery, read the exact column header from there, update setup, refresh. Now let's go to master output. This is the payoff. Hit data, refresh all. So which you can do here. Go to data tab, refresh all. And everything runs. File discovery, header detection, flattening, entity fill down, subtotal removal, type assignment, and final sort. What you get, a single flat table, one row per invoice across every ERP you have configured with these columns. Source name, which ERP and which configuration row it came from. Report type, AP or AR. Customer or vendor, fill down from nested export. Invoice reference, the invoice or document number. Aging buckets, current through total, plus extended buckets if your ERP exports them. Pass-through columns, any date fields, transaction types, or document dates from source come through automatically. Now you can pivot, filter by entity, sort by overdue bucket, build your collection dashboard, calculate concentration risk, do the analysis that you couldn't do before without flattening first. Currency columns are typed as currency with 4 decimal places. Date columns are typed as date. Tax columns are typed as tax. You don't need to reformat anything. So that's the full walkthrough. The tool is free. Download link is in the description. If you are running into a specific ERP that behaves differently, column names don't match, sheet name detection is off, drop in the comments and I will try to help you out. If this has saved your time, subscribe. I'm building more tools like this and you can always go to FinDataPro.app. I recently published a free tool called Bank Statement Cleaning, which is an amazing tool to clean your bank statement. So go to FinDataPro, subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss a new post, new video from FinDataPro. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.